And welcome everybody to what is undoubtedly the 2023 Dutch Formula One World Championship race from Zandvoort. Is it Zandvoort or Zandvoort? Don't know. Don't know. Don't really care, to be honest, because a day at the beach is great, right? We all love a day at the beach. Do we love a day at the beach, everybody?
We do.
We
Yeah,
do. We
yeah.
do. We
We
love a
do.
day at the beach, normally, except when it's Zandvoort. We're not so keen at Zandvoort because it's not the greatest track on the calendar. Never was, even back in the 70s when I was watching Zandvoort there in the 70s. And it was, Oh, and welcome to Yo Sam. Just let me say that. Come for the F1 and to chew bubblegum. At
Mm.
least you, at least you've got something to do while you're here. Yeah. Blame the Dutch. We do. We do blame the Dutch quite often here because Zandvoort is just a boring circuit. And to be honest with you, the race wasn't particularly interesting. It was category error after category error, map for the territory. It was an argument from ignorance. It was a circular argument. It was many flaws, many fallacies. The biggest fallacy, of course, was, I guess, Ferrari. We'll get to that. We will get to that. Followed shortly by Mercedes, and then probably followed very closely by Perez. And I'm not going to say Red Bull because obviously that they never make any mistakes this year. But there we go. I'm going to get on straight away with the. I'm joined as always, of course, by my fantastic host, lead commentator, Ferrari mad, Fabio.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, hello.
Hello, right. I say Ferrari mad because
Yeah,
you have a
yeah.
Ferrari in the background.
And by the
Very
way,
nice.
I was right. It's a 330 P4.
330. Okay, there we go.
Before.
Yeah, lovely. That's the car in the background.
Hmm.
As you can see, it's typical Ferrari put together badly.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Bits,
That'll
bits
never
falling
race.
off
That'll
as it
never.
drives along.
That'll never race. They'll never
Yeah.
get that one to work. Bits falling off as you go.
Well,
There
people
we
in Daytona are still crying, but yeah.
go. Indeed, especially Ford,
Yeah.
which, by the way, will be partnered with Red Bull very shortly. Anyway, I'm going to get on, and of course, I'm also joined here by the expert, not an expert, Lucky Seven Wolfin. Welcome, Lucky.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good evening. Good
Thank
evening.
you. Glad to have you here. We are definitely looking forward to some of your enlightenment today. I say enlightenment because the theme is logic. So there we go. That's what we're going to be focusing on.
Well,
Anyway, look, I'm just sorry. Go ahead.
I think chaotic rather than logic might be a
Yeah.
more apt description of the race.
Okay. Well, welcome, Nadia. Thank you so much. This is a Formula One show, Nadia. May not be that interesting. I may have mentioned several fallacies, but it really has nothing to do with fallacies at all. So yeah, Fabio says ciao to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. That's some kind of foreign
What
language.
do you know? You don't know what it means.
No,
Come
no,
on.
ciao. I do know what it means.
Yeah.
It means dog's dinner in French.
Some European thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there we go.
We're not
Okay, look,
in Europe
look.
anymore, so
I am
we
going to
don't
get on
understand.
because we've got a lot to get through. So excuse me. Cheers, comrades. Fabio, Gio, Sam, et al. Thank you so much, Nadia.
I mean, we are already late. Come on.
I know we're already 5 minutes in and I haven't even said anything funny
Yeah.
yet. Okay, moving on then. I'm going to just quickly go through. We were at the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, of course, 2023. Pole position by the fantastic Max Verstappen. Who could say anything negative about Max, apart from his dad and especially his dad's girlfriend? Okay, moving on. Second place, Norris. third place looks like Russell. A great qualifying. We had a good qualifying session as it happened. Really, it was quite close. And then an amazing qualifying by Albon in the Williams, up in fourth place, just to say. And then various people back. Obviously, Hamilton out in Q2. To dreadful mistake, really. When the rain came down, he got caught out badly on timing. Sainz in fifth, and Alonso sixth. But it was all to be thrown upside down because although they all started on dry tyres, the rain came down pretty much as they started the race. It started spitting, and then by the end of the first lap, it was fully raining. And I don't know about you, Fabio, but as they were coming round the last corner, I was shouting at my TV for Lewis to pit, Lewis, pit. Did he? No, he didn't. No, he fucking didn't. Were you shouting the similar thing about Leclerc?
Actually, I wasn't. I mean, because he just got in, and a little bit soon. But yeah, he just got in. So
What do you mean he just got in? He
are you
didn't pit
talking
on the
about?
first lap. He pitted the second lap, didn't he?
Well, yeah. Well, they all made one lap. It was among the first of getting in. So
Yeah, no, but okay. Anyway,
yeah,
I'm not going to repeat, obviously, but I was
yeah,
shouting coming at the end of the first lap
yeah.
for Lewis to start pitting. The only person that did pit at the end of the first lap was Perez. No, that was the beginning of the second. Again, second lap.
Yeah, I
They all
know.
pitted second
Yeah.
lap. It was
Is
obvious by the end of
is
the
this the
first
same
lap
race
that
you're
they should
talking
be
about?
pitting. They should be pitting on the first lap. I don't understand why they didn't. Anyway, they didn't pit. Mercedes didn't pit. Ferrari pitted one car, didn't they? Carlos Sainz got pitted on the first lap, and then the lap later it was Leclerc. So something like that happened anyway. Perez first into the pit, made up the most ground, ended up being in first place after a few laps. The rain then dried out. He was told on his pit radio, by the way, to preserve the intermediate tyres because there would be more rain coming. And of course, we assumed that Max Verstappen was told the same thing. Did he? No, he didn't. He didn't preserve his tyres at all. In fact, you could see when he came in for slicks that, in fact, his tyres were absolutely shot. So he couldn't have gone on many more laps on those if rain had have come proper. However, there we go. That's Max for you. Does what he wants. Oh, let me just catch up with some of these things. I've never heard of any of these things or people, whatever. That's going to be a theme throughout this show for you because this is Formula One.
Funnily enough, neither have I.
Drive by and thumbs up. Thank you very much. Don't worry, Nadia. Simon Swank hasn't a clue in 7 years. He's still going on. Thank you very much. Yes, that is fucking true. Good to see you, Nadia from Brojo. Yeah. Oh, and Plastic Jesus, thank you very much, Plastic Jesus. Cheers, V, for the thumbs up. We really appreciate that. Nadia and Brojo says come and visit Brojo's at some point. I think he's probably live now, so if you want to pop over there, no problem. Okay. Moving onwards, we got to lap 11. People started pitting for slick tyres because they felt that the rain wasn't going to come down so much, and indeed it didn't. Alonso absolutely stunning at this part of the race, showing his real consummate skill as a 2 times world champion in the wet on slicks. Yeah, just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Everybody else started pitting. A surprise, good stint here for Gasly, who really made strides forward. Very impressive race by the young Gasly, certainly showing that he judged moving away from AlphaTauri at the right time and really taking lead of that team over Ocon, who himself is a fair driver. Lap 16. Oh dear. Oh dear. Logan Sargent crashing into the wall. Not his first crash of the weekend. And he, unfortunately, was out of the race. And it was unfortunate because the Williams was doing a sterling job, I would say, at this point. This meant that the period of rain that we were expecting passed over. The track dried out, easily able for slicks, and Alonso and Gasly again showing and keeping position, showing that their cars were great. Sainz dropping back a little. Albon in sixth place, really unable to keep his tyres in, so flattering the Williams really with the outright speed it had, but unable to keep it on long runs. Ocon really struggling to keep up. A surprise drive by Jean Zhao, the Chinese wonder boy, and then Sonoda, the Japanese wonder boy, right behind him. When have the Japanese been behind the Chinese? Well, there we go. That's history for you. Norris dropping back. Norris.
Wow.
I know. It's you get all sorts of information on a
That got
show like
races
this.
really fast. Man, I was, yeah.
I know. Plus, if you said "wet on slicks" was my sister's nickname in high school. Hey, there you go. I would have said Doubting Thomas myself, but that's just an in joke. Okay. Nonetheless, so by the time we got to lap 31, Verstappen telling the pit guys who have a radar for the weather that dark clouds were coming. I mean, how bored is that guy out front, right? Oh, I can see some clouds in the distance. Anyway, there you go. Lap 32. Norris trying to make a comeback through the pack. Obviously, that McLaren was fast. He had second place in qualifying. Then 49 comes. More pit stops. Alonso pitting and Verstappen being told to pit for the final time onto slicks, which were, or red, softest tyre, red stripes for the rest of the race. And Alonso then really, again, just putting in another great session on new rubber, keeping Perez honest, as it turns out. And then some interesting bits and pieces coming along. Hamilton coming back through the field. Gasly really showing his mettle, going around the outside of Russell, who was on hards trying to make it to the end. A failed strategy again for Mercedes. Norris and Hamilton having a good race with each other. Hamilton getting the better of that. And then finally, lap 60, I think it was Gasly going around the outside of Sainz to take his rightful place at the front and into into fourth place at the time, sixth place at the time, but later to be third place. The rain comes down lap 62. It came down in buckets. Max pitted for extreme wets. Nobody else did pit, including Alonso, who made a strategy call. He was told to come into the pits when they saw Verstappen coming into the pits. Alonso decided to say no to the team. No, he said in Spanish, which I think in Spanish you'll find is no in Spanish or something like that, or no. I don't know exactly how they pronounce it. But it means the same thing. It means he didn't come into the pits, whereas Red Bull did call Perez into the pits. Now, this is one of the interesting points about this race is strategy calls were just woeful, absolutely woeful. I think the team really dropped the ball. Many teams dropped the ball, and this was Red Bull's dropped ball. Of course, they'd already called Verstappen in, but he had such a lead it didn't make a difference. Why they called Perez in, don't know, and we're going to discuss that in a minute, I dare say. Perez then aquaplaned off the circuit when it really started raining hard, and then a few seconds later, the Chinese wonder boy, crashed hard into turn one fence, and then the race was red flagged. Of course, it was red flagged. They were always going to red flag it. Why? Because any time that you need heavy, extreme wet weather condition tyres, they're going to say that there's too much spray to race in. So they're always going to red flag it. So that's why the Perez decision was a terrible decision. And in fact, it lost him a lot of time. It put him down to third place behind Alonso. Not just that, on the way into the pits, he aquaplaned into the pits and accidentally sped in the pit lane. That cost him 5 seconds.
And hit the wall.
So, yeah, into the wall, I think. Yep, that's right. That cost him 5 seconds in the pit lane, speeding, and so that put him down behind Gasly for the final race. Alonso had a quick battle with Verstappen, but of course Verstappen just pulled away really after about 4 or 5 laps when the tyres or the intermediate tyres went off on Alonso's car. Really stunning race by Alonso. And then George Russell having a quick race with Norris. Actually, they came together. That ended Russell's race more or less. And then lap 72, of course, Verstappen won by about 3-4 seconds. Alonso hanging on well to the back of that thing. And of course, Perez coming home in third with a 5-second penalty, put him back down to, I think, sixth, maybe. Not entirely sure. And so they ended up in the finishing positions of, and they're not here, of course, finishing positions of, no, I've only got the championship positions. But as I recall, it was Verstappen, Alonso, Gasly, Sainz, Perez.
No, Perez, Sainz.
Perez, Sainz. Go on. You must as well say the
Hamilton,
others.
Hamilton, Norris,
Norris,
Albon,
Albon.
Piastri,
Just do the top. Just do the top 10.
and Ocon.
And Ocon.
So Albon,
So,
Piastri,
great.
and Ocon.
Okay, so really stand out there for Gasly, and a wonderful second place for Alonso. I think also, just to finish up, Alonso said afterwards that he may have been able to, or they're getting much closer and might be able to get a win. I think that's just dreaming. I mean, he's in cloud cuckoo land there. He was only 3 seconds behind because of red flag. So, of course, as always, I think if this had been a dry race, then probably Verstappen would have lapped the whole circuit, would have lapped everybody. But there you go. And that's that, and that's my race recap. The positions in the championship are Max Verstappen 339, second to Sergio Perez 201, so that's 138 points ahead. Alonso third, 168. Hamilton fourth, disappointing race for him. He was really pissed at the end of it. 156 points. Carlos Sainz, 102. Charles Leclerc, the pacey pastry, 99. George Russell, 99. Norris, 75. Stroll, 47. And Gasly, 37. Well done to Gasly. Okay, that is my race recap. I'm going to pass you over now to the fantastic Ferrari Fabio. Over to you.
So yeah, first of all, I agree. I mean, the track sucks. I think we all agree on that. I don't really agree with you that the race was boring. I mean, the race was funny despite the track. The weather was the big factor in the race to make it at least a little bit zesty and funny to watch. The other thing which was fun to watch was the public, the spectators. I guess that having a race in a country where you can have drugs and alcohol, it's it's good. So and everybody rides to the track on bicycles. It's fun. So yeah, I mean, kudos to the public because they kept dancing and singing for 3 days straight. And I don't know what the fuck they were drinking or smoking, but I already ordered like 2 cases of whatever the fuck they were having. I'll let you know in the next weeks. Really quick, mm, the one of the things you said at the end, the Alonso call at the end when the rain was coming in and said no. And the reason he said no, and this is typical Alonso, he actually said, no, I'm not pitting in because eventually somebody's going to crash and there's going to be a red flag. And lo and behold, like like clockwork, that happened. I think 20 seconds later. So Alonso is still on the ball. He's 40 something, but he's still really sharp and made a fantastic race. He made a couple of great overtakes. One in the first, both on dry and on wet. On dry, he made a fantastic overtake on lap one. Everybody was going up and went down in the banking corner. I was really cool. And funnily enough, if you remember last year, he did the same thing but did the opposite. Everybody went down and he went up, and he took two positions. So I'm expecting next year is probably gonna. I don't know where he's going to go because I mean he already went up, he already went down. Maybe go is straight in the middle. I don't know what he's going to do next year, but it's going to
Yeah.
be really
If
exciting.
if I
Is
could
that
just
turn?
interrupt, if I could just interrupt a second, just to say this, Alonso's Mike Crack says he really enjoys it up and down.
Yes, yes,
That's what
yeah.
Mike Crack says.
There you go. Yeah. So
Are
other
you
things
talking
Sorry.
about
to
turn four
uh,
there, Fabio? Would that be correct in saying?
what?
Are you talking about turn four, where he was going up and down?
The one with the banking, and I've no fucking
Yeah.
idea,
Okay. Right.
man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you guys have, those guys have tracks with numbers, with corners have numbers. Makes no
Mm.
sense to me. I mean, I know there is the Tarzan corner, and I think it's the only one which is named. But
Tarzan's
yeah,
first corner.
yeah, the sucky one, the one where everybody went straight. Oh, by the way, yeah, okay. There's another thing I want to say later on about the first corner. Other things to say. McLaren was quite disappointing. I mean, it's a great. It showed that probably is a car which works very well with a lot of downforce, but it shows the limits. It looks a bit like Ferrari, meaning that in qualifying it gets better because the tires the tires this year are more sticky, and all the cars driving with less fuel, so less weight. They just balance each other. They just cover the problems. But during the race it was quite disappointing. Uh, a car which wasn't disappointing was the Alpine with Gasly and Ocon. And by the way, Gasly again made another fantastic overtake on Sainz on the outside. So really good race by those guys. Other people that I think should be mentioned is the new guy Lawson, the guy from New Zealand in with the Alpha Tauri. That guy has never seen an F1 track on the dry ever in his life, and I mean, he get to the end in that kind of conditions. So that is an accomplishment in my book. He was quite
Yeah.
good. He
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't get shy. I mean, granted, Leclerc was the car was severely damaged. Actually, Leclerc. So talking about Leclerc, he was really unlucky because he had an accident in the first laps. I think with one of McLaren's. And if you see from the TV, it didn't seem to be a really big accident. He lost a barge on the front wing, but he lost a lot of downforce. And what happened is that piece went uh, down and inside his car and damaged all the Venturi channels on the floor. That make him lost like 60 points of downforce, which is about one and a
Yeah.
half second per lap. But it was really really weird because the car didn't seem so damaged. It was just unlucky that the piece just got cooked and destroyed the old floor of the car. So and he had to retire eventually. But
Okay.
anyway,
I just want to say one thing quickly about Lawson. Lawson raced with Albon after he was dropped by AlphaTauri.
Hmm.
Was it AlphaTauri? I think it was AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
And they raced in, I think it was DTM, and they raced Ferraris.
Yeah.
And Lawson beat him hands down.
Hmm.
Lawson beat Albon hands down in high
Yeah. I
performance
mean,
Ferraris.
again,
So he's no slouch there, that kid.
and I think everybody was really, s- I mean, think about it. You get called on Saturday because of the accident that Ricciardo, which by the way was really weird because one of the things that everybody does when they slammed into a wall is take away the hands from the steering wheel. And Ricciardo apparently just got his hand. I don't know if he
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was thinking that it was recovering the car or whatever. But basically, what happened to Richard is that it was grabbing the steering wheel when the wheels slapped into the wall, uh, and the force on the wheels was so much that the steering wheel snapped and he broke his wrist. And apparently, is not it's quite a severe fracture. It's been operated already, and
Yeah.
they don't know if he's gonna be back for Singapore. So yeah.
Okay. As it happens, I had a motorbike accident many
Mm.
years ago where I slammed into a police car, and I went in slightly at an angle, and the front wheel like twisted
Yeah.
as I went in. I was doing like quite fast, and I literally my I was holding onto the brakes as hard as I could, of course, and that just broke the same bone
Yeah.
in my wrist, and it's a fucking nightmare. It took me a year and a half
Yeah.
to recover, and that and I sorry, Lucky, I'm just going to digress a little bit here.
That's
We
all
will
right.
get
You're
to you
fine.
soon, but I want to. This is why I wanted to do this and ask you both this question here: whose career is ending in this picture? I want you just to pick one quickly. A. Stroll, B. Perez, or C. Ricardo.
Well, it's not going to be A because there's no Stoll on the grid at the moment. There's a guy called Stroll, but
Oh, is
not a
it
guy called
Stroll? Yeah,
Stoll.
yeah, Stroll. Oh, beg your pardon. That is supposed to be Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon.
Okay.
Thank you for picking that up and telling me before we went live.
I
Go
didn't
ahead.
notice. Oh no.
I did post it, but anyway,
Yeah.
don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's all right. Can you just give me an ABC, please?
Up. So okay, on on the seat of my pants, when I see that question
Yeah,
and I don't see the picture, I would say Perez because
yeah. Well,
Perez's career is
yeah, yeah.
it's a
Well,
miracle in itself. There
okay,
is
that's good,
actually
right?
yeah. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I'm just asking ABC. Remember the
Hmm.
question.
Yeah.
So you're saying B. Okay, lucky.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to agree with Fabio. It's got to be
Good.
Perez because
Okay. We
Stoll's
don't need a
mom's not going to.
because. I'm asking you ABC.
Okay. Okay.
We'll get to the because in a minute. All right.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're both saying B. Okay. Well, the answer actually is all three. All three because
Mm.
and it's in the picture because of course that's an Alpha Tauri,
Yeah.
right? Which is Perez's next year's car. Okay, just to point
Okay.
that out. Stroll is going off to play tennis because he's been told by his dad that he needs a better driver. Ricardo, if he's injured the bone that I think he's injured, is no way coming back this year. All right, or at
Although,
least not in time. Not in time to do any good to get that extra drive. So there you go. Go ahead,
hold
and I
on a
think
second.
Lawson will be
Hold on a second.
promoted.
Okay,
Hmm.
so I've still got a couple of things to say. So let me say
Sure.
them really quick, and then I want
Yep.
to ask you
Go ahead.
about the Stroll thing, about the Paris thing. So other drivers which impressed me were Tsunoda. I mean, he made a decent race. Um, Sainz too, with the material that he got, I think he made a very good race, especially in the last leg where he had intermediate which were not new, so he had quite a disadvantage. A couple two things really quickly. Mercedes, they suck balls. I mean, Russell was wondering the old race. I mean, we were aiming for the podium, and I'm 18. What the fuck is going on? How did I manage to get there? And then he didn't even finish the race. And the parrots thing that you mentioned about being called in, that is really weird because so my explanation is that at the beginning of the race they called uh, when Verstappen was ahead, they called Perez first and not Verstappen. And usually you call the driver which is ahead, right? When they called Perez in for the tires, he was ahead, and they said, "Okay, yeah, we're gonna call you because I'm sorry, we made a kerfuffle about that," and he just fucked it up by himself. So yeah, that would be my explanation about why they called him and at the moment they called him, and
Yeah.
of course he got the red thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay. We will get through Perez. Definitely, we will get to Perez.
I mean, nobody wants to get through Paris. Not even
Okay.
Paris wants to get through
Okay.
Paris. But
All
so
three.
okay, why? So Paris is in AlphaTauri next year.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So and who's gonna replace Paris in Red Bull?
Who's going to replace Perez? Lawson.
Oh. So I'm gonna tell you why I don't think that's the case.
Okay.
It's not really solid.
I'd like to do that in a little while. I only did that little brief break
Okay,
because I
okay.
wanted to get to the all three.
So remind me that when you want to
Yes,
talk
for
about
sure.
it.
We will come to this.
Okay.
Okay, jolly good. So all three is the answer, is the correct answer. I know I highlighted Perez in the actual picture, but all three for various different reasons. Okay, over to you, Lucky. Is that everything, Fabio, before we move on? Excellent. Thank you so much for that race review. And perfect. And yes, I completely agree with what you were saying about science actually putting in a damn good race, considering that car is well what it is, I guess. I would guess not P. It's, yeah, let me just put this one up. When I said I would
Yeah.
guess not P. Yeah, thank you for the theme. I'm glad to see you're watching. Guest, he said, yeah. Okay, so over to you, Lucky. Race review. What did you think? Anything specifically stand out?
Well, there was an awful lot going on yesterday, wasn't there? We'll start, of course, with my man, the man Logan Sargent, and his
Yeah.
escapades this weekend. Uh,
Yeah.
the dizzying heights of 10th did he make in qualifying, but then went on to Bennett in qualifying three, which was unfortunate. But he managed to get himself into the top 10. Both Williams in the top 10 in qualifying, something that hasn't happened, I believe, since 2017, believe it or not. 6 years since Williams had two cars in the top 10.
Yeah, there you
Uh,
go.
so anyway, Logan, he managed to get 14 laps before something in the front right of his car broke and sent him into uh, the barriers,
Wall.
which the
Turn
wall
one.
barriers,
I
which was
believe it was a brake by wire failure.
Yeah.
oh right, okay. What was as soon as he hit the curb on that left-hander, he was immediately heading towards
Okay, look, I
the
hate
wall.
to
We.
interrupt you.
Yeah.
Before you go, Fabio, I hate to interrupt you. Could you just rejoin because I'm getting a little bit of crackle from you, Lucky. We'll come straight back to you. Don't worry. If you wouldn't mind just rejoining, and maybe that'll set it up a bit better.
I,
Okay.
I was just going to make a joke about the fact that oh, there is a Williams where something
Of course,
broke,
I'll hit the refresh button here.
where
Yes, please. Yeah.
something broke on a Williams and the drivers just went straight ahead into a barrier.
Oh,
That's unheard of. But
jeez.
yeah.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. I'm not
that
even going
is
to explain what that joke
that
is
is
because
really cold. I know.
that's not good. That is not good. Okay, hang on a minute. Okay, and
Proceed
let me
double.
just. There we go. There we go. Okay, Back to you then, Lucky. Back to you. So we were on reportage Sargent.
Yes, Mr. Sargent. His race ended at that left-hander. He was heading straight for the barrier as soon as he hit the curb, and that was the end of things for poor Logan. Um, he seemed to spend the rest of the day uh, looking very forlorn in various positions around the track and then eventually in the garage. So anyway, moving on from that, it's something interesting to notice that to demonstrate how chaotic qualifying was, the first 6 cars were all different teams, all different cars. But the man who seemed to do the best job at the start was, as Fabio pointed out, and I think probably my man of the day would be Alonso. I think of all guys on the track who's actually wanting to take it to Verstappen, it was Alonso who was the man. The other person that perhaps is deserving of a mention is Hamilton. Out in qualifying 3, but yet made his way through from, I think he was 18th at the lowest point in time to, where did he end up? Sixth at the end of the race, which
6th, yeah.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah,
I mean, even given the red flag and the other times that they bunched up, it wasn't a too bad performance. I'm not sure if I'm going to agree with you.
And the Mercedes had pace. The Mercedes did have pace through this race. They because of the strategy mistakes at the beginning, they were just never able to use it. So I mean, usual Mercedes, right? Like it was said. Sorry, I'm getting on. Go finish your report. I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely fine. The other thing I was going to mention was that I kind of disagree with you. I think regarding the track, if you've got the balls to overtake at Zandvoort, you can do it. And there was a lot of them had the balls to overtake this weekend. And see, Fabio's disagreeing with me. Obviously, the rain and people on different types of tires did make things slightly more random. However, it seemed to me like the guys were doing a good job of overtaking. Some of the around the outside overtakes that occurred were good in my opinion. So what else went on? The rain came and the rain went, and the rain came and the rain went, and nobody had an idea of what to do. Let's be honest with it. It didn't matter what strategy you called. You were going to be lucky if you got it right because the weather was just so random. The who was it? The Chinese lad that went off and caused the red flag. Sure, that bunched everything up, but I think that it was still an enjoyable race to see, although it was just so chaotic.
It's breaking up. I disagree with you about the track. I'm on Simon's page here. This track is abysmal, and the only reason why they're racing there is because Verstappen is world champion. Period. There is no other reason about that. The track is horrible. It's narrow. You can't overtake. They had to make the banking so they could have a straight which is not. It's more than 700 meters. Now it's about a kilometer because they started with the banking, which is 18 degrees. I mean, just to give you a rough idea, the banking in Indy, I think it's 9 degrees. This one is 18. It's like it's that steep.
That's wild.
And the track itself is I mean, it's more suited to race karts than F1s. So just to give you a rough idea, they had to usually when it rains, when they restart the rain, the rule says that they got to restart on extreme wet. For this race only, they said they have to restart on intermediate, and the reason is because the space between the box in the pit lane is 14 meters. Just to give you an idea, the space between the box in Monte Carlo is 18 meters.
Okay.
So it's incredibly narrow and absurd as a track. So
I just want to say that's 45 feet for the Americans watching.
oh bloody hell, yeah.
The
Yeah.
pit lane is definitely marginal. I've got to agree with that. And the pit lane exit is also very marginal. That's something else I think that needs to be addressed, but that how would be the question. Um,
Just to say, for like less intelligent Americans watching, that's 15 yards.
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this the random racism show?
I don't think it's racism exactly. No, I
No,
don't
no,
think
it's not racism. Yeah.
Americans are definitely not a race.
No. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
Moving
Okay,
on.
let's get on to the thorny topic, if you wouldn't mind,
Mm,
gentlemen,
mm.
of
Can, can I
Perez.
can I
Yeah.
Go
not
ahead. What?
mention? Can I not mention before my race review ends,
Oh yeah,
Mr.
please do. Yeah.
Alonso, that the happiest man in Holland, I think, judging by his post-race interview, he positively skipped into the see the interviewer and skipped away with an enormous smile on his face.
Yeah, I don't think he was the happiest man in Holland. I think you'll find that was Jos Verstappen visiting the red
Mm.
light district in Amsterdam.
Okay, so we've been through Japanese, Chinese, Americans, and the Dutch. Who's next?
I think I think whoever is selling beer below the grandstands, in the track was the happiest man in Holland, especially with all the delays and the red flags, all the stuff. I mean, when they were panning through the public, uh, you there were at least one glass of beer every three person, every fucking time, and I'm including the children's. So yeah.
I thought it was quite funny that as they were panning through the crowd, as the weekend went on, you could see
Yeah.
more swaying,
Yeah.
less and less Mexican waves and dancing, and just people like sitting there, just going back and forth, just swaying in their seats, going, "Oh, when this
Yeah.
fucking going to end?"
It was mental. Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, there you go. Okay, Lucky. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate the race review and reportage of Sargent. We're going to enjoy those to the end of the season because there won't be many more, will there?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I think this was possibly the start of the line and the end of the line for Mr. Sargent and his
Yeah.
Formula One career.
We actually had a little laugh, didn't we, in qualifying, Fabio?
Yeah.
Bec-
Yeah.
because it was a topsy turvy qualifying, and I can't remember exactly what was causing it, but at one point, I can't remember who was first. It was like Albon was first, I think,
Yeah.
and maybe Sargent second. And I went, "Oh, hang on a minute, here. we're getting, we'll get a red flag. We'll get a red
Yeah.
flag. Don't you worry." And like literally 30 seconds later, and like
I got a message because it's really funny because I was on the yeah, carry on. I'm looking for through the messages because I
yeah,
think
yeah. Let's just go back.
yeah.
Sorry, I changed it. Are you coming in, bro? Oh no, I don't know. Anyway, look, there we go. I'm not. You go through the messages, and I will carry on with Lucky. So
Yeah.
yeah, there was some strange shit going on. I think it was hard for the rookies to stay on the circuit, and maybe that's because, as I say, the drainage around here isn't great because it's in the dunes, and it's in the dunes. So if it's in the dry, there's sand on the track, and if it's raining, there's not enough drainage. So I just this whole track, there's nothing good about this track. I can't think. And they did try to make it a lot better with the banking and stuff, and that has improved it somewhat. Certainly would agree with you, but just imagine what it was like without the banking. Oh my god, it was boring in the 70s. Oh my god, just
I would think
endless.
there were probably more
Yeah,
overtakes
but
this
so,
this weekend than there was the previous all Zandvoort races. That's for sure.
no,
Mm.
I'm sorry. By the way, I went through the messages. I basically was messaging Simon saying, "Oh, it's been 30 years since an American driver got in top 10 in an F1 qualifying." And by the way, the last one was
That's it.
Michael Andretti. I made a joke it was Mario, but
Yeah,
it's
it
not
was
it.
Michael. Yeah.
And then later on, like literally what 3 minutes later, I don't know, stuff like that. You say, "Oh, I guess," but yellow red flag, and that happened. At 6:52, you Simon scored the red flag, and they jinxed Sargent because he was the one going through the barrier. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, we called it. It's Sam's
Yeah.
fault. It's Sam's fault. We know it too well.
Mm.
Anyway, um, that did lead me to think about something else as well, actually, but we won't go there. Okay, so
I want to know about the parrots thing.
the Perez thing, yeah, the
Yeah.
Perez thing. Okay, so this has stirred some controversy, no doubt. So
Mm.
there were some more like there's some revealing statements.
Mm.
Basically, like the Godfather, right? In this case, is Christian Horner said, "This is my boy. We fully support my boy. He'll be here next year." It's like the kiss of death, right? So definitely, he's out. He's out next year, 100%. Marco keeps like switching, going, "Shall he? He whacked some wise guy for us, so he's one of the family. But doesn't mean I'm not going to kill him." And that's basically what's going to happen. So again, Marco like giving support without giving it, which
Mm.
usually is a very bad sign if you're in the team. And then every time you see a picture of Marco and Perez together, Mar- Marco's looking off in two directions, obviously, but two different directions to Perez. Not even one direction is at Perez, right? And Perez is looking at him, going, "Oh, please." So he's got those puppy dog eyes, and it just says to me, no way is he going to be here next year. In fact, what they would rather do is put anybody in that place, right? And that's why I'm saying they're not even going to tell Perez to the end of the year, and it'll be too late to get him in a different car. Why? Because they don't want Perez to show up that he is in fact the tire whisperer, and show up that they've been giving him a shit car all year and giving him preferential treatment to Max Verstappen for all the strategy calls. And in fact, they've designed this car, to be in favour of Verstappen in such a way that Perez just can't seem to get his head around it for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like normally, what would happen, in my opinion, is in this situation, the number two driver, Perez, would just get given the settings, the setups from Max Verstappen's car, and say, "Look, go out and drive that, right, and then see how you do." Because at least we know that the car can go fast, right? Now, it's not obviously that isn't the best way for Perez to drive, but with such a deficit, right, he would at least be given a chance to catch up in terms of learning how to drive in the sim and then actually putting that sim practice into knowledge. But for some reason, he's so far behind. At some points, it's like in this race, it was 8 tenths of a lap on average. Perez was behind, right? And that kind of gap, in 3 tenths is too much, right? 8 tenths is a sackable offence. So clearly he will be sacked.
Yeah, I mean, it was 1.3 seconds behind in qualifying, but so I would have agreed with you 2 or 3 months ago. I am slowly, getting back on what I think for several reasons. I'll try to be super brief. So the first one is that, I mean, I'm not denying the fact that that car is built around Max Verstappen. That is a given. They know it. Everybody knows it. So I'm not even disputing that. But that's the state of affair right now. So Perez. Perez is a driver which, it through all his career, there is a trend you can see. Is really amazing in the first five or six races, and then he just shit himself. That is something which has always done. Uh, it's actually a very good trend of him. So it's not something that they were not expecting from him. The second thing is that with that car and Max Verstappen, they don't really need Perez right now. Uh, we told him last time too. I mean, just with the points of Max Verstappen alone, they would be ahead in the constructors championship. So they don't really need Perez. Now Perez has about 15 million motives to be in Red Bull, which is exactly the amount of money which brings to Red Bull with his sponsor. And I know it's Red Bull, they got a lot of money, but 15 millions is not the kind of money that you can say, oh yeah, I can do without it, even for Red Bull. So I'm a little bit, I'm on the fence about what you said. I don't think that is going to be the case. They don't really have need to replace Perez right now. And again, they have got 50 million motives to keep him on the team. So yeah, that would be my.
Okay, Lucky, what do you think?
I think he's going to be going. But who do they replace him with? As Fabio keeps pointing out uh, uh, in previous episodes,
Oh, and also,
who?
sorry, Lucky, because now I was going there. They have no drivers. They literally have no one to
Yeah,
replace
Well,
him with.
I think they do have a driver, as
Uh,
I'm
listen,
intimating.
well, I mean, okay, so Lawson was a really good afterthought, but they really have nobody, on that caliber.
I hear what you're saying.
But
Okay,
do
Lucky,
you
yeah,
really
let's get
sorry.
think
through
that
Lucky because we need to be quick about this. I'm sorry to hurry you guys.
it's okay? I'll just say, do you really think that Red Bull um, would have enough time uh, to have a rookie alongside Verstappen when they're completely focused on what Verstappen is and what Verstappen is doing? Just it doesn't seem like
Yeah,
they have enough resources for a rookie. What they need is, as Fabio said in the past, they need a Bottas. Somebody that's going to pick up if and when something happens to the leader. Uh, but
agreed.
it's who can do that? Perez
Agreed.
doesn't
Okay,
seem to
okay,
be able to do
that's
it.
fine.
But
So
who can?
agreed,
Who can?
agreed, agreed. No, it can't be Uki. It cannot be Uki. I'm afraid. As much as everybody wants him to be Uki, but Uki is at best a midfield driver, at best, and it's taken him years to get to be a midfield driver because he wasn't when he first started in AlphaTauri. So there's just no way he's ready to step up, and I think they all realise that. He comes with a lot of money, admittedly, but there's just no way, I'm afraid. So it does need somebody like with that special edge. And I think what they were doing, and I agree with you 100%. If Ricardo hadn't have had that crash and broken his wrist, then that's what they were aiming for. They were aiming to get Ricardo up to speed and then put him back in the Red Bull as a supporting partner for Max Verstappen because they get on so well together, of course. And he's not going to challenge him for anything really. He's always going to go, "Yep, no problem. You pit you pit me whenever you want. I don't care. It's all good." Right? And so he would be the perfect partner for Max Verstappen in that situation, and they're paying big bucks to do it, and that would be his motivation. As he said recently, he wants to end his career at Red Bull. So I think that was the plan. I think this crash is a real problem for him because if he doesn't heal, and if it's the same, if it's the bone I'm thinking about, it's certainly there's no guarantee that the bones are going to heal in any kind of sufficient way. Normally, what they do is they put like a little metal screw into the particular bone because it's so small that it can't heal on its own very well because it's so small. So they put a little screw in, and that's undoubtedly what they'll do. But I was told when I had my operation that when you do have that operation, it takes up to 6 months to heal. And for me, it took me a year and a half to heal from that. Now, I'm in no way the physical condition of Ricardo, admittedly, and I'm not going to have the kind of rehabilitation that he could get. But
I'm
nonetheless,
also
a
I,
year. Go ahead.
no, I'm also really worried, and I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah.
So take it really
Okay.
carefully. But uh, I think that the guy which performed the operation in Barcelona is the same guy which made the operation
For
to
Stroll. Yeah.
Markets. Yeah, I'm thinking about Markets, not Stroll.
Who?
Mark
Marcus.
Markets, yeah, he basically
Okay.
ruined the guy. I mean, he botched him really bad.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's
Maybe.
the same guy. So
Okay, okay. Well, I mean, either way, it's a really tricky bone. If it is the bone I think it is, it's a really tricky bone. It's a really bad break. It takes a long time because the bone is so small, and you keep putting pressure on it. So it takes like months, not weeks. And if that's the case, then he won't be ready for next year, let alone tested by the end of the year. I hope he'll come back. I do, but my point on all the top of this is that they have Lawson, and as I'm saying, Lawson, when compared to Albon, okay, has beaten him hands down in the same car, both on strategy, both on tyre wear, just out driving him on pace, right? And this is after Albon came straight out of Formula One, where normally drivers are very good at switching into other categories because they've got the braking down, right? They've got this heavy left foot braking that you can only get in Formula One. And Albon was simply outclassed by him in just about every single race that they had. Even when they were racing and Albon seemed to be getting the upper hand, Lawson managed to put in a consistent drive in order to really take the championship home. So I just think that that's going to be the plan come the end of the year. I think you'll see if I'm right. And I like to go out on a branch, Fabio. You know that I like to get well out on the branch and fall off many times. But this is my branch that I'm going to be falling
okay,
off.
yeah, fair
Is
enough,
that they will switch Perez to the B team, and they'll do that in order to stop Perez driving for anybody else.
fair enough. Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
because they don't want the embarrassment of Perez going to another team and then performing really well,
No, no,
which
but
we know,
listen,
Perez can. If Perez was in an Alpine, he'd be up there with Gasly.
I understand your rationale. I
Yeah,
was
good.
vouching for Ricciardo to get back in Red Bull, if you remember. I mean,
Yeah,
I got really close because he ended up in Alpha Tauri. It's not the
yeah.
same thing, I understand.
Well, yeah.
And I got, but yeah, I mean, I got close
No,
enough. So,
clearly
but
they're setting Ricardo up to take the Red Bull place
yeah, but I
with Max.
understand. I
Yeah,
understand what you're going to say. It's just that I think that there's some other factors that might play against right now. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah, it might
yeah.
be.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
I
maybe.
believe I
And
believe this Liam Lawson guy did a year racing in Japan in
he's
their top
currently in
sport.
Japan. Yeah,
He is currently racing in
He's
Japan.
currently in
Yeah.
Japan. Okay, well this race series that he's doing, I believe, is like an F2 plus car.
that's
So
It's
correct.
I mean,
the Super Formula in Japan.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
right?
very competitive one. It's
And
actually
it's
really
Yeah,
good.
so
also
he's got some
they've said it's
speed,
also the closest car to a Formula One car
Hmm.
that
right?
isn't one.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, he seems to have some experience for sure, and the Japan series. I mean, as Fabio just said, are super competitive. So maybe he does have what it takes.
Hmm, I think so. Well, as I said, he's beaten Albon as a
Yeah,
teammate.
sure.
So I mean, and that was the year that Albon was straight out of Formula One. So I mean, this is when Albon was hot property, and he was dropped by Williams because they couldn't afford to keep him, effectively. Well, no, AlphaTauri. He was dropped by AlphaTauri because He didn't bring the money that Yuki brought because they wanted Honda, obviously. They'd
Sure.
just done a big deal with to get the Honda engine, etc. So he was out through political reasons. And we know how good Albon is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's taken that Williams and really thrown it up the front end of the grid at times. So there you go.
Yeah, he's done well.
So anyway, that's
Okay.
my point. Perez out for various reasons that we've talked about. He's not saying the right things mainly, and it's political with Red Bull. They don't really care about the money so much. This is a team that used to routinely spend 400 million a year, so throwing 15 million away, probably not too much to worry about. But there you go. That's my opinion. Okay. Anything else anybody want to say about the race
Nope.
or what I've commented on?
No.
I think we're good.
Okay, great. Well, in that case, I'd like to throw it over to you, Lucky, for the special guest section, which, as everybody has come to appreciate, is myth or quiz. Myth or quiz, myth or quiz. What's it going to be first? Over to you.
It's going to be quiz followed by a quiz because we don't. Well, we might have a myth, but it's not really a myth.
Okay.
I'm toying with what I want to do.
Two quiz. Pressure's on. Okay,
Two,
go ahead.
two quiz. There'll be two quiz questions. Okay.
Okay.
For you guys. Two quiz questions. We'll go
Concise
with
now, yeah.
Okay. First quiz question. And anybody else in chat that wants to go with this, please join in. I can't see chat at the moment. I'm trying to keep.
No, it's all right. There's nobody watching. Don't worry about it.
No.
Pressure's
Okay.
off. Pressure's off.
Okay. First, number one question. And remember, the scores at the moment are 10-11 to you, Simus. So, first question is Jackie Stewart won 3 championships, 2 with Tyrrell. Who was the other one with?
Sorry.
Two
break
Tyrrell
down.
cars, and there was a second car he won with. What was that?
Okay, well, I can take a guess, but I don't know. I think, is it a Lotus?
Yeah, well, I was going to say a Lotus too. So, yeah.
It wasn't. No, I'm disappointed.
Was it
I'll give you another
was
guess.
it a Brabham then? Was it a Brabham?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Another
We don't know
guess.
then.
Oh.
Oh, well, we can't keep guessing, otherwise it's not a
Yeah,
quiz anymore.
arrows. I mean, we're gonna shoot them down.
Arrows.
Yeah.
I think it was before
Jackie
Arrows.
Stewart. I thought it was a Cosworth engine, so
It was a Cosworth engine car.
It was Cosworth then, so it wasn't a Lotus.
and it
But
wasn't
they actually,
BRM.
it was a team that had their own engine or a manufacturer
A team?
that had their own engine.
That they
It was
had their
always
own
with the
engine.
Tyrrell team. However, only 2 of the championships he won in Tyrrell cars.
BRM.
That's
No.
what I said, but
He
no, it's
did
not
race
BRM.
PRM, but he didn't win a championship.
Okay, look, I think we've had enough guesses. I'd like to just move on now
It was
because
Matra.
we're just naming things. It was who? Sorry,
It was a Matra.
a Matra. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Now you said it. Yeah, clear as day.
Matra
I
had their
remember.
own V12
I know.
engines, I think.
Yeah.
And then they started using Cosworth, so it was a Matra Cosworth. You got the
Okay,
engine.
thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
So that was his
Okay.
first championship, was it? Before he joined Tyrrell?
1969, yes. No, it was still Tyrrell team. However,
Oh, it was still
Tyrrell
Tyrrell.
had that was in the days when you could buy a car and race it. Remember?
I see.
And
Okay.
that's Tyrrell had been using Matras, I think, for 2 or 3 years before.
I see. Okay, yeah. Okay, I didn't quite get what the question was then.
Yeah.
Okay.
1970 they changed it to their own car.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't hear that. Yeah. Okay. That's
Okay,
fine though.
we'll go with the second question for this week.
Thank you.
Monaco 1996 has the title of being what?
Oh, the fewest number of cars to finish.
shortest-
Simon's got it straight
shortest-
away. Well done.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I remember it. I was there.
Yeah, who was the winner?
Well, I wasn't there. Oh, I don't know. It was somebody weird. It was like
French
Oh,
guy?
it was Prost.
Frenson or something.
It was
Prost.
Prost
It was
car, but it wasn't Prost that won.
oh Panis maybe.
That's it. Olivier
Uh,
Panis, he won.
yeah.
And there was actually only 3 cars running that crossed the line. 6 classified finishers, but only 3 cars running. So there you
Okay,
go.
there we go. Yeah. Oh, hi, Prix. Good to see you. Thank you very much. I don't know anything about cars. Dropping a like, I really appreciate that.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
So that's it. That's it. Samus gets the point, and is surging ahead. He's surging
Yeah.
ahead. Picked the right tires and has gone a 2-point lead. That's 10-12.
Yeah.
Mm.
As Sterling Moss would say, anybody out there in these conditions on slicks is either mad or my wife. He actually said, or a woman, but I'm not going to put that in. Because, that's Sterling Moss for you, though.
No, it was either Sterling Moss or Sean Connery. So
Yeah, it's got to be someone from that era, that's
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. Somebody bald from that era.
right.
I think
There
Sean
we go.
Connery said something about slapping your wife, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, but
Well,
yeah. No, well, anyway,
Or
let's not go
yeah.
down there. I don't think it was a woman. I don't think it was his wife, just a woman in general. But anyway, did you have a myth? Did you have a myth or not?
I didn't have a myth this week, but
Okay, that's fine.
would we prefer a small F1 story?
Yeah, go ahead if you want. If you've got one for us, let's
yeah.
hear it.
Okay, 1975. Frank Durney, or before 1975, Frank Durney had actually invented a computer program for working out suspension rates on Formula One cars. And in 1975, he was invited to the Silverstone Grand Prix by Harvey Postlethwaite, who had been using Durney's program to work out suspension rates. Now, during qualifying, James Hunt was complaining about a bit of understeer in one of the corners and was convinced that the car needed less anti-roll bar at the front. Now, the roll bar that was on was the weakest of the roll bars that they actually had at the circuit. So Hunt complained and he was told, we can't change it, there's nothing we can do. Hunt complained and they were told, there's nothing you can do. Hunt complained again, and one of the mechanics said, listen, James, I'll sort this out. We'll take the front roll bar off, we'll take it into the workshop, and we'll turn some metal off it, and we'll put it back in the car, and it'll be fine. So they duly took the roll bar off. They went into the garage and sat and had some tea and played cards for half an hour, and then came back out with the roll bar and put it straight back onto the car as it was. James Hunt went out, set a faster lap time, and came back into the pits and said, that's it now, guys. That is absolutely brilliant. So that shows you just how dumb racing drivers are and how easily they can be fooled.
Yeah, that that is a great story, and I think it's repeated in several different fields. Go ahead, Fabio.
It happens everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally everywhere. I can tell you 1998 we were racing the uphill championship with motorcycles, and there was this guy with an Aprilia 125, and he was complaining about the front fork. And my brother, I mean, couldn't figure out what the fuck he wanted. And I said, okay, let me sort this guy out. And he was our top driver. It was really fast. I said, well, it's bouncing, it's still bouncing, it's chattering all around. So, okay, I know what to do. Don't worry, I know what to do. And I literally did nothing on the front suspension, like nothing. I kept the bike over there. I just, keep, like turning and unturning screws, like putting it in the same position, and lo and behold, he made the best lap, best time and whatever. So that happens fucking every fucking time. It's incredible how many times it happens.
Yeah, drivers seem to be able to fool themselves into
Yeah,
thinking
yeah, and
things.
it's all in the head. It's all in the
Yeah,
head. I mean,
absolutely.
Loris Capirossi made the same thing with the Ducati. he had an issue with the frame. He said it was maybe flexing too much, and he complained so much for so many races that we put a small pipe bracing 2 points of the frame, which had literally no effect whatsoever, and we could show it mathematically that there was no effect. But the frame looked a little bit sturdier. It's the kind of and it was just bolted on, and he swear on his life that that frame was better, and it made no fucking difference at all. It was literally hanging on nothing, but it just looked good, really good, and it seemed to be it was way more sturdy. So yeah, it's
There's a few stories in the music world like that as well.
yeah,
One
yeah,
guy was sitting in a booth, and he had his music sheet, his music table up quite high so that his instruments couldn't be seen from the booth. And the guy said to him, "Okay, mate, yeah, it's not quite right sound. Have you got like a mandolin there?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, sure." And you see, the guy bends down, picks up something, and then plays it again. And the guy goes, "No, that's not it. What about a banjo?" The guy goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, no problem." So he picks up his banjo, starts playing. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's the one we wanted. Yeah, that's great. You got it. And the guy next to him, a very famous bass player, basically was just pissing himself laughing. And the reason he was pissing himself laughing is the guy just had one acoustic guitar. And every
yeah.
time the guy behind the booth said, "Could you bend down and could you play this?" He'd bend down and then come back up with his guitar in his hand still, play it in a different position, and go, "Oh yeah, play it like a banjo. Okay, play it like what I mean." And that was it. And the guy, this very famous bass player, said, "So what I did is I went back home, I put a switch on my bass that didn't have anything attached to it, right?
Yeah.
And every time in the booth, they said, 'Could you make it sound a bit more toppy?' Right?
Yeah.
He just basically makes sure the guy saw him switch the switch, right? And, and then he just play with his fingers in a different position. And the guy would go, "Oh yeah, that's it, brilliant, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
sound.
you're such a great
Yeah.
bass player." Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, there you go. I was just looking for the video. It's a hilarious little story. But anyway, there you go. So yeah, happens in a lot of
Yeah.
different professions as well. The psychology of being a great player
By
or
the
a
way,
great racer or a great mechanic in this case. Go ahead.
as I mentioned, this tale about James Hunt and the Dan Hero Bar was related by Frank Durney. If you want to hear somebody tell it like it is about Formula One, Frank Durney is the man. Listen to him; he just doesn't pull any punches. And if you think somebody who's an idiot, he'll tell you he thinks he was an idiot. He's actually quite a refreshing person to listen to.
Yeah, and of course that was the beginning of the drive towards active suspension, wasn't it?
It,
That
it was
later became computer controlled suspension when McLaren finally got their shit together to develop that.
well. I think it was Williams that were first.
I think McLaren's
You know?
Yeah.
developed it, and then
Yeah.
Williams perfected it.
Yeah.
Right.
Williams were the first to perfect it because they had Frank Williams employed some computer engineers to work on it to get the
According to
software
Frank
right.
Durney, they
I,
bought Williams bought a system that had been developed for, I think it was U.S. postal vans to keep the suspension level on them or something like that. And
anyway, guys, sorry,
Yes.
cut it off. Next
Okay.
race is gonna be Monza.
Monza! Hooray!
Monza!
Hooray!
We
Hooray!
like
Hooray!
Monza.
Hooray!
A proper track.
Monza is the
Maybe
place.
it might be as boring as as last Sunday, but at least it's fucking Monza.
Is
So
it
who the
Monza?
fuck
Yes.
cares?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course, just
Indeed.
to sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead,
I'm
Luca. Sorry.
absolutely agreeing. Monza, I love Monza. Monza is the best Formula One track ever.
Okay, and this will probably be our thumbnail. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, so we're going to leave you with that. Thank you all,
Yeah.
everybody.
And listen,
And
can I quickly just bring up the Irish connection?
Yeah,
that
quickly.
possible that's possible at Ferrari, an Eddie Irvine team boss at Ferrari? How would we like that?
At Ferrari, no, that would be
Oh,
terrible.
fuck off.
Obviously,
That's never gonna happen. Come on.
absolutely terrible. Yeah,
I
we're
would
just going to
sort them
leave
out,
that
says
right there.
Eddie.
No, I don't care what you say. We're leaving it there.